schools are very important to us. So as a basis, as everyone says, it's always the people that really make you successful. So it really has been important to us.
And do you partner with these schools as well in terms of developing talent?
Absolutely. We've done a number of, there's a version of SBIRs where you work with a university called STTRs. We've done them both with the University of Connecticut as well as Yale.
Mm-hmm. And Louis, you've had a similar experience with schools, possibly?
Well, we've worked a little bit with them. You know, my partners are at universities, not in the state, but the state has been supportive. And I think actually what has happened recently will be to the good. I think the governor understands how to help and support small business. I don't know if that was always the case, and I don't know how effective always Connecticut Innovations have been, but they have a new leader, and we're seeing really great things and positive things. So I'm quite hopeful in terms of support and moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Now, I asked Stuart a little bit about his background that prepared him to take the reins of his current endeavor. Louis, what's been your background in terms of preparing for what you're doing now?
Well, I'm the business guy who attempts to translate the high-end mathematics and sophistication and technology into something people like me can understand. So in terms of my background, you know, I have a business background, although I was at IBM for several years, both in the engineering side and sales. And so I've worked in a variety of technology companies and run technology companies in the New York area for a period of time. And then prior to here, both logistics and wireless logistics companies leading up into, you know, what we're doing today. Mm-hmm. So it gave me the foundation, and my partners have been, you know, kind enough to tutor me and bring me along on the cryptography side, so I can kind of explain what we do.
Mm-hmm. And you know, in our discussion, you know, moments ago, you mentioned, you know, obviously the center point of your organization in terms of, you know, protecting against counterfeiting. How big of a tab is that to American consumers?
Well, the overall counterfeiting industry is about $650 billion and growing, and in the U.S. alone, in excess of $250 billion a year in counterfeiting. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty significant impact. I don't think, you know, people know it's there. We all assume it's not us, but it's pretty pervasive, unfortunately. You can look in the newspaper almost monthly, if not weekly now, at things happening, whether it be in wine, fashion goods we often think of, electronics that we're focused on, or liquor.
Mm-hmm. Now, Stuart, you mentioned a lot of your initiatives that you currently have and mm-hmm. will have into the future. Is your prime technology in the laser area?
Not really. It's more the other end, the detector end of it, actually. The lasers we buy from other companies, insert them into our products. How we spread the light into its wavelength components is some of the IP we have for our devices, as well as the electronics that go into the detector to give us really good signals.
Mm-hmm. And again, the areas that you kind of deal with are fuel, right?
Right.
You deal with IEDs. You deal with chemical analyzers as well, don't you?
Well, that's just it. It's all chemistry to me. And so any chemical analysis is what we can do, what we try to do. And what the unique thing that we provide is a portable system. It's about the size of a shoebox, you know, with a handle on it. You can just point and shoot, make measurements. And in terms of security, actually, we've sold analyzers to Border Patrol to actually do chemical analysis of things. Well, obviously, you know, is a powder a suspected drug, or again, maybe an explosive? We've also looked at qualifying drugs as well to make sure that it's the right product by actually making the chemical analysis itself.
In the case of like an IED, does your process actually look into the device, or is it trace elements?
It's trace analysis, looking for a little bit of residue of the chemicals that would be used in an explosive device.
Mm-hmm. Has your company also looked into opportunities in terms of the transportation network in the United States and abroad?
Absolutely. Our technology is being looked at to go into airports, for instance, to, again, we could look through, say, your glass cup and determine, is that in fact water or something else?
It's vodka. No, actually it's not.
Where's ours?
Yeah.
It's in the green room. And now, Louis, you talked a lot about your organization helping with the pharmaceutical industry, And maybe you can just kind of share with our viewers some of the other areas that you've also deal with.
Sure. I mean, the big area that we're focused on right now is electronics. It's estimated that in excess of 100 billion a year in counterfeit electronics currently enter the supply chain. And most interest is probably not the correct term, but there's been a lot of activity if one's to look into the reports in the Department of Defense supply chains. So semiconductors and chips that are being used in a wide range of activities to sustain our military now have come under suspicion. There's a very large report actually supported by Senator Blumenthal in particular and our Congressman Jim Hines in my district, where laws are being enacted and they're very actively looking for solutions to deal with the electronics. And in fact, we've just, as I mentioned already earlier, I've been engaged in Washington to begin a pilot to try and deal with the electronics in the supply chain, although again, it could be fuel pumps, it could be microcontrollers, it could be a wide range of things. But it is obviously a very big deal if you're putting a chip on a board that's either going into a warhead or into an aircraft that's going into the air. You want to make sure that it's real. And frankly, that's not an easy thing to do today, unfortunately.
And is it a combination of espionage and profiteering, or more on the profiteering side?
I would suggest mostly to this point it's profiteering. There are concerns that products that are being bought outside of our borders, and many legitimate products are, that they don't have back doors and other things in them, which can be very hard to determine or detect, particularly at the quantities and volumes we're buying. Because again, to put something on the water or in the air of the size of some of the vessels we have takes a very big supply chain. Department of Defense is very much on it. This is a very key focal point. I've actually been very impressed how quickly they're moving and the people who are working on it. So to us, it's unfortunate but exciting to be involved.
So both your organizations really work very closely with the Department of Defense, I would assume, correct?
Correct.
And so they're very aware of the threats that both your organizations deal with, correct, and help solve.
Yeah, they point them out to us, and we try to help solve their problems.
Is it hard for them, and even with your technologies that you make available to them? I would just imagine that they're kind of always perpetually playing catch-up. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if it's necessary. Well, yeah. Certainly, in some cases, it is catch-up. But in the end, I think a lot of it also is we're trying to meet their needs, and the bar always keeps getting raised, and so it's challenging on both sides.
And I would assume for both you gentlemen, it's more difficult to kind of come to grips with some of these threats, understanding the fact that we're in a very much of a global economy. Everything's sourced, no matter what you're doing. Isn't that more of a threat? Louis, maybe you can take that?
Oh, absolutely. Arguably, one is not harmed if a fake handbag is sold on the sidewalks in New Haven or Hartford.
Well, that's my wife.
And keeping some part of the economy going. But when it comes to food, pharmaceuticals, we've been fortunate. There's been some very high-profile liquor situations, but in other countries around the world, it's actually led to mortality scenarios and what have you. So it's more than just profiting, in terms of, what we're dealing with. Unfortunately, people have become very ingenious in what they do, and it's going to take a lot of very smart technologies, ours and others, to deal with it.
I was saying, Stuart, given the global war on terror that has no real, end game in sight, that I would think present many opportunities for your organization, because this is continuously evolving, isn't it? The challenges and the threats that are out there.
Absolutely, and again, like I said, so we're always trying to address what the military is presenting to us as a new scenario that they have to deal with. To take this a step further, where you just started a program where we're trying to detect bioagents, of course, again, along with a lot of other people, but the challenge there is probably 100-fold higher than, say, trying to detect IEDs. now you're looking at a biological system. Is it alive? And can you differentiate one from another? Very challenging. But there's also a very practical side of all of this. At the same time, we're learning how to detect salmonella, listeria. So, it's, can we determine if food is contaminated or not, or water supply, which benefits all of us.
So it's kind of very interesting. From that core technology, the outgrowth is kind of limitless to some degree.
Exactly, and that's the way, again, the military presents the new problems as they grow, and that's how we grow and develop.
Mm-hmm. Now, sir, your company, Real-Time Analyzers, has been around for 10 years, been successful. 10 years out, where do you see your organization?
Me retired.
Hosting the Business Buzz?
Yeah, so, well, actually we're very far along with the Marines, and the number of sales is, it's an early price tag, but about $10 million worth of analyzers. The Army is actually going to be visiting tomorrow and looking at our analyzers to see if it'll suit some of their purposes. And actually they said that their need is about 10 times that, so it's about $100 million worth of analyzers. So I think that's probably several years for all of that to transpire. And then maybe, again, the biological detector systems might come out. That'd be, again, more like the 10-year time frame from now. And so I see that, and again, starting to push into the commercial sales through that same time space.
Interesting. And now, Louis, you have very compelling technologies. Where do you see your organization, SecureRF, into the future?
Well, we very much see ourselves also as what's referred to as a dual use or dual purpose technology, both in the Department of Defense, where we've recently got significant traction, as well as in the commercial sector. We have one of the largest liquor distributors in the world looking at us now. Asia, this coming year, they expect to put 150 million of those chips on liquor bottles alone. So tomorrow I'm in New York City meeting a partner from Asia to discuss supply chain there. So hopefully 10 years out, we'll have the licensing and partners we need, both here in the state of Connecticut and elsewhere, to see the technology used to make every place safer.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, it's certainly been a very interesting discussion. And for our listeners and viewers out there that would like to get more information on real-time analyzers, how can they do that, Stuart?
We have a website. It's very simple. It's www.rta.biz.
Fantastic. And Louis, for people out there that would like to get more information on SecureRF, how can they do that?
Actually, same easiest way is our website, which is www.securerf.com.
Easy enough. Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for being on the Business Buzz. Louis?
Thank you too, Jeff.
Stuart, thank you so much for being on the Business Buzz, and thank all of you for tuning in to another edition of the Business Buzz. We will be back next week with another exciting guest, although this will be hard to top. Thanks for tuning in.